Shout out to G-Man Boxing.
Alright, people. So, we got some news that's being reported, and it's looking likely that this fight is actually going to take place. Now, dates we're looking at is June the 3rd or the 27th of May. And this fight is Josh Taylor against Teofimo Lopez. For Josh Taylor, I believe he still has the WBO. That's the only title he has still at 140 pounds after he went and vacated a good few of them last year. So, Teofimo Lopez, Josh Taylor. Now, I know what a lot of people are going to say. Before we even go into Josh Taylor, Teofimo Lopez, we got to talk about what the hell happened to the Jack Catterall rematch. Now, I had a feeling, and you can go back and I said it in the video at the time. I think I said it on the watch along. I had a feeling something was up with this whole Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall thing, because the talk of the town was, in fact, actually, I think it might have been, the proposed date, I think, was last week. February the 4th, thereabouts. They were talking about, at the end of last year, they were talking about doing the Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall rematch Then Josh Taylor, it emerged that the fight's going to get pushed back because he had, I believe it was a foot injury. Now, he was at the Chris Eubank Jr. Liam Smith fight. I think that was the fight it was. It definitely was, because he was with Liam Smith. And seemed fine to me. Actually got into a bit of a yelling match with Jack Catterall. And look, we don't know how bad the injury was, but I always find it very suspicious. Dylan White is another example when he pulled out of the Ottavillain fight with the shoulder injury, and you see him, happy as Larry, no issues at all. So I seen him there at the Chris Eubank Jr. Liam Smith fight. I kind of thought why is that? Is there an issue with the fight? Are they worried about? I didn't really understand it. And then obviously you hear rumors about Teofimo Lopez, and you think, right, that makes sense now. And we're hearing that this fight's actually going to take place in Hibernian Stadium. So Hibernian, the Scottish SPL team, in their stadium in Scotland. So Josh Taylor will definitely have the home field advantage if this fight takes place, which, to be honest with you, it's looking likely. Now, a lot of people are going to be, and a lot of people are, they're giving Josh Taylor stick. They're saying, Jack Catterall came out and called it a duck. Look, do I think Jack Catterall deserves a rematch? Yes, I do. Do I think he was hard done by and unlucky? Yes, I do. Very, well, unlucky. I mean, it was a damn disgrace that he didn't get the decision. And before I go on further about this, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way to Jack Catterall. So people listening, don't think of it as this. But we look at that 140-pound division. Lopez, Prograis, Ramirez, who else is there? Subrat Matthias, Ponce. There's great fighters in that division, and they're just some of the names. You got to think Ryan Garcia may move up, Devin Haney may move up. It's not an easy division, 140 pounds. It's a very, very tough division. And although I sold Jack Catterall short going into that Josh Taylor fight, I really didn't think he had much of a chance, because I've never really been that impressed with him. He impressed me a lot in that fight. I look at Jack Catterall and I compare him against the Prograis, the Ramirez, the Matthias, the Ponces, the Teofimo Lopez, the Devin Haney's moving up, etc. And I just don't see him beating any of those guys. Now, I could be wrong, which makes it all the more sad, because a lot of those, they're the guys who have the titles, for the most part. And you just think to yourself, Jesus, that was his possibly one chance to actually have the title. He won them, but they just didn't give him the decision. And Jack Catterall, you see, here's the thing, and this is the biggest problem. When you saw that decision, how it went, and you saw the aftermath, how the sanction bodies reacted to it, Jack Catterall is not a cash cow. He's not a fighter who put butts in seats, and he's not a big draw. And that's true. I can say that's a fact. So the sanctioning bodies, they really didn't give a you-know-what, whether a rematch was ordered or not. Hence the reason why the WBA didn't seem to give a hoot, the IBF didn't seem to care, the WBC didn't seem to care. I think the WBO were the only ones who were kind of like, alright, better order the rematch. And that was it. Whereas if that was, let's say this was a Canelo Alvarez, and I know with Canelo it's normally the other way around, but let's just say Canelo fought, let's just say he fought, hypothetically speaking, Artur Beterbiev at light heavyweight. Canelo won every minute of every round, but some reason they gave Beterbiev the decision. Every one of them sanctioned bodies would be instantly ordering a rematch. Every single one of them. Even if there was no rematch clause, they would be instantly ordering a rematch. They'd be like, Get that guy a rematch now. But they didn't do it for Jack Catterall. In terms of this fight, do I see it as a duck for Josh Taylor, ducking Jack Catterall? At the end of the day, right, if Josh Taylor turned around and said, well, I've beaten Jack Catterall and I'm going to go and fight, stay at 140 pounds, and I'm going to, I don't know, just fight O'Hara Davis in a rematch. As far as I'm concerned, yeah, that's a duck. But when you're going and you're fighting someone who is arguably better, it's not like Josh Taylor is taking an easy fight. He's fighting someone, in my opinion, no disrespect again to Jack Catterall, who on paper is a better fighter. Well, he is a better fighter, in my opinion. Teofimo Lopez. Probably a bigger money fight. Definitely, actually, a bigger money fight. And from a business point of view, you could say this makes a lot more sense than fighting Jack Catterall again. As harsh as that may sound, you have to look at it like that. Do I think, as I said, Jack Catterall deserves a rematch? Hell yeah, I think he does. But I can see from a business point of view why they're going down this road. They're going down this road because it's going to make money. They probably do it on pay-per-view. Would they do it on pay-per-view? Would that be reaching? They probably would. Would they? Yeah, they probably would, actually, now that I think about it. And at the end of the day, Lopez hasn't really been riding the quest of a wave of success. I mean, he looked very shaky at times against Sandor Martin, although saying that, Martin did fight a very negative fight. And that was a real head scratcher, because I think Jose Pedraza was the original opponent. When he pulled out, you got Martin in there, Sandor Martin, and it was just like, oh, that's going to be A, tricky, and B, that's arguably a harder fight. And it turned out to be that way. It wasn't so much tough as in a punishing fight for Lopez, but he looked poor. In terms of the fight before that, I forget who he fought before that, but he obviously got the knockout, and then obviously the fight before that he lost to George Kambosos, and he's not really looked right, Teofimo Lopez, since that Kambosos loss. And if you want to be a bit more brutal, you could say it's been nearly 3 years since he's been in a fight where he's looked really, really good, and that was obviously the Vasyl Lomachenko fight, which was October 2020. It's now February 2023, and we haven't seen Teofimo Lopez, set the world alight like that. I think there's a lot of issues in his team. I think his dad needs to be given the boot, because his dad is it's very rare, you see someone in a corner who lets the side down as much as Teofimo Lopez Sr., because I think part of the problem with Lopez Jr. is his father. The fact that, this is a guy who was literally just telling you, knock George Kambosos out, you're ahead, and you won the fight 10-2. What? Some of the worst advice, and I've seen some bad advice being given in my time, believe me, but that's probably right up there. Maybe even that takes the biscuit for some of the worst advice I've seen, or one of the worst corner jobs I've seen was against Kambosos by Team Lopez Sr. in the corner. It was awful. But him against Taylor, stylistically, that'd be a very good fight. Taylor Lopez looks to land the right hand, looks to, he can box pretty well on the back foot, looks to set up the right hand. Whereas Taylor likes to operate at mid-range to close range. He can box a little bit on the outside, but primarily he is good, mid to close range. That's when he's lethal. He's got great movement, very good punching powers, Josh Taylor, good speed, takes a shot well. Very, very good fighter at 140. The only issue with Josh Taylor is that you could noticeably see him in the Jack Catterall fight. I think it was a combination of two, maybe overlooking Catterall and just struggling at the weight. It's going to be a year and a bit later. It's not going to get, if you were struggling then, and especially because you've not been fighting, it's not going to get any easier. So it's going to be interesting to see how Josh Taylor looks in this fight. If this was the Josh Taylor who fought Regis Prograis, personally, I'd be picking him over Teofimo Lopez. The Teofimo Lopez we saw against Sandor Martin, I'd pick him over Teofimo Lopez. Whereas the Josh Taylor who fought Jack Catterall, even against this Teofimo Lopez, I don't know, that's a much more trickier fight to work out. That's a much more trickier one to work out. But that's the rumour, that's the report. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If we get this fight, are you upset with Josh Taylor for not giving Jack Catterall a rematch? Do you consider it a duck? As I said, on paper, this is probably a bigger money fight and a tougher opponent. On paper anyway, and in my opinion, he is a tougher opponent than Jack Catterall. In pretty much every aspect, I think Teofimo Lopez's game is better, and it's a bigger money fight. So, do you consider it a duck? As I said, if it was O'Hara Davis goes, I'm going to rematch O'Hara Davis, I'd be like, get the F out of here. Seriously, get the F out of here. Or Lewis Ritson. Get the F out of here. What are you doing? Fight Jack Catterall. Don't be ducking. He's not doing that. He's fighting a guy who, up until recently, was on many people's pound for pound. Maybe still is. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Let me know. I'm interested to know your thoughts in the comments. For now, lads and lassies, I'll talk to you. Thanks again for the Hit Company for sponsoring this video, as always. Peace.